Welcome to Cracked Open, a podcast about life, love, loss, and the truths we discover along the way. Together, we'll explore the struggles that shape us, the lessons we carry, and the hope that keeps us moving forward. This is more than stories. It's honesty. It's healing. It's real. Let's get started. And now your host, Glen Nunes.
Hey, welcome back to the Cracked Open podcast. This is season 3, episode 4, and I'm your host, Glen Nunes, and I'm glad you're sitting here with me today. I really am. Sometimes on my podcast, you're going to hear these chimes in the background. And outside the window where I record these, there's these chimes. They were called Amazing Grace. That's the name of the actual chimes. So they sit right outside the window, and I have headphones on, so the microphone picks up the chimes when the wind comes. And last episode I had the window open and they were a little loud, so if you hear these chimes, that's all it is. It's not anything added in there, it's just background noise, and I don't edit these, so I heard them, and I'm gonna leave all the chimes in there when you hear them. And if you've been following me right along this season, you know we've been peeling back the layers. We've been talking about hard stuff, the real stuff, and today's no different. So go ahead and take a nice deep breath and clear your mind, and let's get right into this. So, have you ever noticed how quickly life can humble somebody? 1 minute, you think you have it all figured out. The relationship, the money, the image, the future, the person you think you're going to grow old with, all this stuff. And then life hits you. Life hits, and suddenly, none of those masks matter anymore. So today I want to talk about something a little different. I want to talk about the beauty in the breakdown. And not because pain is beautiful, because trust me, it's not. Heartbreak isn't beautiful. Cancer isn't beautiful. Loneliness isn't beautiful. Depression isn't beautiful. Watching somebody you love slowly lose themselves, not beautiful. There's nothing beautiful about that either. There's nothing beautiful about any of these things. But sometimes when life breaks us far enough, it strips away all the fake parts of who we thought we were. And what's left underneath? That's the real person, the humbled person, the softer person, the grateful person, the person who finally understands what actually matters. So this week I had a conversation with somebody I've known for many years, and for a long time I only saw the outside version of her because I only knew her through work, and I'm a musician, and seeing her out in the bar scene and the restaurant scene, places we both worked at. But I saw the image, the confidence, the relationship, the appearance, that everything looked perfect. But life has a way of changing people, and suddenly the person sitting in front of me wasn't hiding behind any masks anymore. She was just human, hurting, scared, and real. And honestly, it made me realize something, that every single person you pass in life is carrying a battle you can't see. It's so true. I say that throughout probably every episode, but it's so true. Some people are fighting heartbreak. Some are fighting a broken spirit. Some are fighting sickness. Some are fighting regret. Some are fighting guilt. Some are fighting loneliness while smiling at everybody in the room pretending they're okay. Some are fighting bad situations they're in. Some are fighting terrible mistakes they've made. This is all stuff people are fighting, and maybe that's when we need to slow down before we judge people so quickly. We really need to put the brakes on, because sometimes the strongest people you know are barely holding themselves together behind closed doors. So this is Cracked Open, and I'm Glen Nunes, and today we're talking about the beauty in the breakdown. So my last 3 episodes was like a little mini-series that I had these topics that I did together. Somehow it led me into this one. And that's how I do these, however I'm feeling for the week or whatever comes to mind, and I have all kind of stuff in my notes and potential podcasts. Somehow I was led to do this one. So everyday life has a way of throwing things right in our laps. We walk around this world seeing people who seem like they have it all figured out. Like I said, the money, the looks, the cars, the status. They're sitting high up on that horse, looking down, acting untouchable. We live in a society who's completely obsessed with the wrapper, the fake body parts, the Botox, all this stuff hanging in expensive bars, big bank accounts, bragging about money, the phoniness. But today, I want to ask you a question. What happens when the storm hits? What happens when life reaches up and grabs that high horse and flips it completely upside down? Because sooner or later, reality comes for all of us. And when the superficial stuff gets stripped away, when you're left standing there completely exposed in the dark, who are you? So today, we're talking about the illusion of phoniness, the reality of suffering, and the strange, painful beauty that happens when a human being finally gets humbled by life. So I want to tell you a story about something I witnessed recently. I ran into somebody. I've known this person for many years, and like I said, she seemed like that person, completely untouchable, running with the crowd that had the money, the guys, the businesses, stardom, and they were in the spotlight. People who thought they were the absolute cat's meow. And this girl, she carried herself with a little bit of armor of arrogance. She had the perfect hair, the cosmetic surgery, the look that says, I'm better than you. And it was all a mask, a beautiful, expensive mask. But then life hit. It hit her hard. She was recently diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. Hair started falling out. All that image started fading away. And you know what? So did that high society partner. The guy with the big talk and the money and the charm. He packed up and he left. He vanished. The moment the glamour was replaced by chemo, hospital beds, and real human suffering, this is when true love shows up, and this is when true colors show up. And I'm not judging anybody, but some people, I want to make this positive, so I'm going to end that right there. But anyway, there is a little miracle in the misery. When I sat down, I talked to her. I could tell her arrogance that from what I known in the past, and she's always been nice to me. I'm not judging this person. I'm talking the persona of how she comes across, or how she came across. That was entirely gone, stripped away, and in its place was a deeply humbled, genuinely kind, beautiful human being that I never knew existed behind the mask. It made me realize how many people are trapped in phony relationships, these crazy rebounds, and these terrible situations, all surrounded by these fair weather friends who only love people when something's in it for them or when they need something. But most of these people, they run like cowards the second the storm rolls in. And when something happens significant, you have to remember who are the people that are there for you. I knew a girl that her dad got cancer, and it's so funny. Her little circle of all these friends, I guess you want to call them. I don't throw that word around, but this person considers these people friends. There was a couple of them are really good people. They're all good people, but when the chips were down, not one person would call her or check on her, ask how her dad was. Nothing. And she did have somebody that was there through the whole thing. And he loves her and he loves her family. And he was there for her. And thank God she had him. She didn't realize it probably at the time. But thank God she had him, because these superficial friends, no good. But anyway, just the other day, I saw this picture of somebody that I really cared deeply about. And it hit me really hard, not because they suddenly became unattractive or ruined or any of that shallow nonsense. It was something so much more deeper than that. I realized that life had really taken a toll on them. I could just look at their face and see the stress, the exhaustion, the heaviness, the emotional weight that life had put on their shoulders. And all probably guilt and just regret. I saw a lot of regret. I'm very good at reading people. And I looked at a before and after picture of them, and it really, honestly, broke my heart. It brought me to tears, actually. And I immediately prayed for her, for peace and for things to change in her life. Because, man, things can change, but I know what it's like to carry that backpack full of the rocks that we talked about in a couple episodes, and she's got a duffel bag on her back, and I feel so bad for her, but obviously she's made choices which have put her in this position, but it doesn't make it right, and you still have to pray for these people. But still, whatever the reason is, without judging, it's not my business or anybody's business to judge. You still have to pray for these people, especially show them love, and also to fight for them. And when I mean fight for them, I'm not saying physically, I'm saying fight for them spiritually. Pray for them. As people I fight for every day of my life. I fight with tears and sweat and sincerity that only God knows. Because sometimes we forget the people we love are human too. They make mistakes, they get lost, they carry guilt, they carry the pain, they go through battles that we may never fully understand. And I was just thinking about pain, because pain changes people, sometimes physically, emotionally, sometimes spiritually. You can see it in their eyes, and you can hear it in their voice, and you can feel it in their spirit. And that's when I realized something, that maybe that's where the beauty and the breakdown begins. Not when everything is fixed, not when the story has a happy ending, not when the wounds disappear, but when life finally strips away the masks, and when the pretending stops and the pride falls away, when the things that we were hiding behind no longer matter. Because breakdowns have a way of revealing what was always there beneath the surface. They reveal what we value, they reveal what hurts, they reveal what matters, and sometimes the very thing that breaks us is the thing that opens our eyes. Sometimes the pain becomes the teacher. Sometimes heartbreak creates compassion, and sometimes the struggle produces wisdom. Sometimes God allows the breakdown because he's trying to build something deeper than comfort. And maybe that's the beauty, right? Not the pain itself, but what the pain produces. And for the first time in a long time, instead of just feeling angry or betrayed, I felt really sad for them. Not pity, not weakness, straight compassion. And I did a compassion episode, and the definition of compassion is something people should read every day. Because pain changes people, sometimes visibly, sometimes spiritually, sometimes emotionally. And maybe that's the part of the beauty and the breakdown, when life strips away the masks and forces us to finally see each other as human beings instead of characters in our own story and in this fairy tale world that most people live in. And as I looked at those pictures, I realized something. Maybe what I was seeing wasn't the end of someone's story. Maybe I was seeing the middle of it, because we've all had seasons where if somebody looked like a snapshot of our life at the exact moment, it would look like we were losing, right? Broken, exhausted, defeated, lost. But thank God our lives aren't measured by a single photograph. They're measured by the chapters that come after them. And maybe that's where the beauty and the breakdown really begins. Not because the pain is beautiful, not because the mistakes are beautiful, and not because the heartbreak's beautiful, but because God is still writing the story. The breakdown may be where the transformation starts, and the breakdown may be where humility begins. The breakdown may be where healing finally takes root. And as I looked at those pictures, she's really in the process of the breakdown. But with changes, prayer, and repentance, and very important, repentance, her beauty is right around the corner, or could be right around the corner. And sometimes what looks like the end of a person is actually the beginning of who they're becoming. And seeing that and talking to this girl the other day and seeing that happen to her, it just opened my eyes, man. It hit me like a ton of bricks, because lately I feel like I'm running into cancer and tragedy everywhere I turn. It forces you to realize how short life is, how fragile we are, and how much pain people are hiding behind closed doors. And it made me look at my own life too. And I talk about my own experiences through all these podcasts. Everybody knows that. I'm sitting here. I'm working a brutal schedule, gig after gig. Even though I'm trying to play less lately, it's been a lot lately. I'm completely overwhelmed at times. I got a lot going on, and I'm carrying a heart that's been broken in pieces, but mending them back together, meeting some great people, been hanging with some awesome people, and it's really been great. And you know what? At my gigs, there's these flower ladies that go around in the restaurants and the bars, and they sell roses. And for years, I had a tradition. No matter how many were at the table or the group I was with or knew, if it had 2 people or 10 people, I would buy everybody a rose, every single person there, females. And I wanted everyone to feel honored, flattered, and special. It's nice to do. But there was somebody that's very close to my heart. Everybody knows I'm not talking with subliminal messages here. It was my soulmate. She used to come to these gigs, and I always made sure that the flower lady gave her 2 roses. I would say, give everybody 1, make sure she gets 2. And she told me one night that she never forgot that and how romantic and magical it made her feel at times. And I just wanted to mention that because sometimes you have to make people feel good, especially if they mean something to you. And just because doing things like that, it brings joy to the heart. That's the real thing, bringing joy to the heart instead of hurt. But anyway, I'm a romantic anyway. I love doing stuff like that and making special craft things or just getting creative, cool little gifts on anniversaries and holidays and things like that. That's just me. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. Maybe that's why the roses meant so much to me. It wasn't really about the flower. It was about making somebody feel seen, making somebody feel valued, making someone feel special. Because deep down, that's what we all want. We want to know that we matter. We want to know someone sees us. We want to know somebody cares. And looking back, it's funny from the outside, but people probably thought that I had everything figured out myself. I was playing music. I was in love. I was smiling, living life. Had everything I ever wanted, that I've ever asked for, which wasn't much, but I thought I had it. And from the outside, other people looked like they had it all figured out too. But that's the thing about appearances. They often just cover the book. You don't see the chapters that people are really going through. And you don't see the cancer diagnosis. You don't see the heartbreak. You don't see the loneliness. You don't see the nights that somebody is sitting in their car wondering how the hell that they got there. And I brought up the flowers because I was so happy that I was making the person that I loved happy. We were actually called the power couple by many people. And when that broke down and the connection broke down, that's the breakdown part. But moving forward, I'm going to turn that beauty, I really am, into something beautiful. And maybe that's why breakdowns are so powerful, because when life starts stripping things away, the image doesn't matter anymore. And the masks don't matter anymore. And the pretending doesn't matter anymore. And whether it's with, I don't know who it's going to be with or what's going to happen. But either way, either scenario A, B, or C. If it's scenario A, it's going to be better than it ever was and we could have ever imagined. Or if it's B, someone else is going to come into my life and I'm going to explode into happiness. I just feel it. And option C, who knows? That's the one that we don't know. Nobody knows. And whichever way it goes, what's left is the real person. And sometimes that's the first time that we truly see ourselves. And sometimes it's the first time that we truly see each other. Today, I'm being completely transparent with you. I'm sick of the masks. I'm sick of the phoniness. I'm tired of the heartbreak. I'm tired of the crying. I'm tired of the depression. It's a lonely, heavy feeling to be a guy who spends his whole life trying to make everyone else in the room feel special, while I go home empty, broken, and wondering, when am I going to ever catch a break? When is my turn to catch that little break? Just a crumb. I don't ask for much. And then I start questioning everything. I asked God, why is it so hard to find basic happiness? I don't ask for anything. You have this massive world with millions and millions of people. And all I ever wanted was that soulmate, or that the two become one, that one person in this massive world who will just treat me with the basic, decent human love. But even in the dark, and I'm not complaining at all, but even in the dark, I just keep listening and keep playing. And that's what I do. And you know what really hit me this week? It's how many people are walking around pretending they're okay. And honestly, I think all of us do it in some way. We post pictures, we smile, go to work, go out with friends, we sit at bars, sit at restaurants, we perform, we flirt, we laugh, we tell everybody we're good. Meanwhile, underneath all of it, some people are barely holding themselves together. And this week, as I said, I had this conversation with somebody I haven't talked to in years. And that outside version I was talking about, beautiful, confident, perfect hair, perfect body, the successful guy. That image, like she's got it all figured out. And then life hit her hard. And suddenly, none of that mattered anymore. The relationship wasn't protecting her. The money wasn't protecting her. The appearance wasn't protecting her. The image wasn't protecting her. Underneath all of it was just a human being trying to survive something terrifying. And sitting there talking to her, I realized something. I had nothing but compassion for her, like I said. But as I was sitting with her, sometimes life strips away everything fake until the only thing left is the real person underneath. And maybe that's why suffering changes people so deeply. I was actually praying today when I was walking, and I remember this just came to my mind. Here we go, another rabbit hole, Glen Noons. I remember talking to God and saying, okay, I get it. I did a lot of things wrong. I'm doing this wrong or whatever. And I'm praying to you deeply right now, God. And I get it, because I'm in a tough position. I'm in a tough place. I put myself in a corner. And as soon as you get out of the corner and life starts getting good again, we forget, don't we? We forget God until He, and I told Him this, said, I know you've taken everything away from me to get me back on track because I wasn't listening. It's what a father does. It's what a father does to a son and a daughter. But anyway, because when you're totally broken down by life, you stop caring so much about looking perfect. It doesn't matter. You stop caring about impressing people. You stop caring about status, about everything. You stop caring about pretending. And you just want peace, honesty, real love, more time. You just want the people that you care about close to you. And the crazy part is, while I was just sitting here listening to her story, I realized I wear the mask too. She's talking to me, and she doesn't know my situation. She was telling me about her terrible, terrifying situation. Of course I was listening to her. I've said that before. You have two ears. Listen and talk less. And I was listening to her, and she was looking deep in my eyes. And I'm sitting there on the other side saying, oh my God, I got my own issues too. Because people see me on the stage. They see me smiling, joking around, playing the music, talking to the crowds, recording podcasts. But they don't always see everything underneath it. And this is not a pity party. I don't want anybody feeling sorry for me. Those who really know me know I'm not like that. But they don't see the nights that I sit in my car questioning everything. They don't see the loneliness. They don't see the tears. They don't see how exhausted I've been emotionally just trying to hold myself together while still showing up for life. They don't see that. And maybe that's why this episode matters to me. I don't know. Maybe that's why this came to me. And life is great, and it's not all bad. And I don't want people to think that everything's terrible. I have great moments, and everybody does, and bad moments. And I try to keep, like I said, the level. Don't get too high, don't get too low. Try to remain in the middle. Easier said than done. Because I think we're all living in a world just full of people wearing emotional masks. And sometimes it takes a heartbreak, or a crushed spirit, or sickness, or loss, or betrayal, or a family member going through this, or your best friend, or your sister or brother, or somebody going through a tough time. These things are the things that finally crack us open enough to become real again. Isn't it true? Cracked open. The name of my podcast comes up so much, it's funny, even when I'm talking to people. But anyway, and then the emotional message becomes this. You say, I spent so much time thinking breakdown meant weakness. But maybe breakdown is finally what forces us to become honest and back on track. While I was sitting here thinking about all of this week, I realized something. Life didn't just humble the people around me. It humbled me as well. And honestly, and maybe this episode's going to hit a couple of people hard. I don't know. I know when I was taking my notes and watching stuff and doing my little research, the moments hit me. Because over the last few years, I felt cracked open in ways I never expected. I've gone through all kind of stuff, and it all leads to confusion. Moments where I question God, moments where I question myself, and moments where I honestly didn't know if I wanted to just keep moving forward. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. And the strange part is, while all of that has been happening internally, externally, people keep telling me how great I'm doing. Oh, your podcast is great. Your music, I love the music. Great show. I see you jogging. I see this, which is great. But they see me on stage. They see the music. They see the crowds. They see the podcast. Tell me I'm talented, kind, strong, inspiring. I love it. Everybody loves to be complimented genuinely. And people like recognition. I don't take compliments well. People who know me know that. I am a very humble guy. Thank God I am, because I know people who are the opposite. But the point is, what they don't always see is the breakdown underneath it. That's all I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with having fun and interacting with people and doing what you have to do. There's nothing wrong with it. The point is, I'm saying all of us, not just me, have all the broken pieces underneath it all. Like I said, they don't see me sitting in my car replaying painful memories in my head, like just driving around for hours. They don't see that. They don't see nights when I do come home after a gig, surrounded by great people, and then I come home and I feel completely alone. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not looking for sympathy, because I know you can relate to this. And saying that, I was just talking to someone the other day, and they go home and they are in a relationship and they've never felt more alone in their life. You know that saying, everybody's seen it. Being alone is not a good feeling, but being with somebody and feeling alone is the worst feeling. Some people love being alone, and I love my alone time, don't get me wrong. You know what I'm talking, pertaining to this episode. But anyway, they don't see how hard it is trying to process all the loss and all your hopes and your dreams and things that you just thought were in stone. That's all I'm trying to say. And maybe, though, through all this, maybe this is what's broken me open emotionally, because all these things have a way of exposing every wound that you may have thought that you buried years ago to come back, don't they? It forces you to sit still with yourself. It forces you to ask hard questions. Who you are when the applause stops, who you are when the relationship falls apart, who you are when life doesn't go the way you plan, who you are when you realize you're in a relationship and you want out so bad that you would do anything. Things like this, and who you are when the masks all come off. And maybe that's why I've continued doing these podcasts, even when I keep threatening myself to quit them, because somewhere in the middle of all this stuff I'm talking about, I think I've started to become more honest, more human, and more compassionate, more aware that everybody around me is carrying something heavy too. A lot of people way more heavier than me, like this girl I sat down with. I could see it in her face. And maybe breakdowns aren't always the end of a person. Maybe sometimes they're the beginning of finally becoming real. The more I thought about this episode this week, the more I realized something. Maybe our broken places are not proof that we failed. Maybe they're proof that we survived. And I came across this incredible story while researching for this episode about an old Japanese tradition called Kintsugi. And what they do is unbelievable. When a piece of pottery breaks, they don't throw it away. They don't hide the cracks. They don't pretend the damage never happened. Instead, they repair the broken pieces using gold. Think about that for a second. The very thing that broke the piece becomes the most valuable and beautiful part of it. And honestly, that hit me right in the chest as I was reading this, because so many of us spend our lives ashamed of our cracks, don't we? I know somebody who got themselves in a terrible position. They feel ashamed and embarrassed and just terrible, and they just live in that. And I'm like, you just want to yank them and pull them up out of that, like they fell in a well and you just want to pull them out of it. They're ashamed of the heartbreak. And maybe your situation, you're ashamed of heartbreak, or you're ashamed of the divorce, or the addiction, or the depression, or a prison sentence, or mistakes. Ashamed of scars that life left behind. We try so hard to hide the broken pieces from the world, but maybe God doesn't see us that way at all. Maybe the cracks are where the light gets in. Maybe the people who have suffered the most become the people most capable of empathy, most capable of compassion, most capable of appreciating love, most capable of seeing pain in others. These are all great topics to do podcasts on too, because when life humbles you, you stop judging people so quickly and you start understanding them. And honestly, when I look back at the hardest moments of my life, as painful as they were, those moments shaped me more than easy seasons ever did. The heartbreak made me softer. The loneliness made me more compassionate. The struggles made me more grateful. The breakdown forced me to become honest. And maybe that's the beauty hidden inside all of this. Not the pain itself, but what the pain teaches us. Because some people go through suffering and become bitter, but other people, they become kinder. They become more patient, more loving, more aware of the battles people carry silently every single day. And the breakdown isn't the moment that your life falls apart. The breakdown's the moment when you finally decide it can't stay the same. And that's the powerful distinction, isn't it? And the story that comes to mind isn't even a romantic one. So imagine a man standing in front of a forest. He's been lost for days. He's hungry, he's exhausted, he's scared. And he's staring at a mountain. And the mountain isn't the problem. The problem is that he's standing still. He's just looking at it. And the moment his life changes isn't when he reaches the top. The moment his life changes is when he takes that first step. One step doesn't get him out of the forest. One step doesn't get him to safety. One step doesn't solve the problem. But that one step starts everything. It's so true in our lives, isn't it? The person leaving an abusive relationship, the person getting sober, the person forgiving someone, the person decided to go to therapy, the person that decides to stop hiding, the person deciding to finally have a hard conversation. And the breakthrough isn't usually one giant decision. It's a series of small ones. One step, then another. You have to come up with a plan. You have to think about your situation, and you have to follow through. You can't delay. You have to, as we said earlier, make the move, and you have to follow through and do it. You have resources. You know you do. And you have to stop making excuses, and you have to stop settling, and you have to stop just thinking that there's no way and all this nonsense, okay? And eventually, after that happens, people look at the outcome and say, wow, look how much they've changed. But the real miracle wasn't the destination. It was the first step, okay? And you just got to say, I can't keep doing this. I just can't. And oddly enough, that's often where hope begins, because before that moment, most are stuck. And after that moment, they're moving. And you know you have to say, enough is enough. Seriously, enough is enough. This torture has to stop. And you have to. And that's the beauty in the breakdown. The beauty is the end result when you finally say, enough is enough. And you know you have to say to yourself, this has to end, this mess. And if you're in a mess, go back and listen to that episode. Make the move. Go listen to that. And you know what? You have to say, this torture, enough is enough. And you know the common thread here? It isn't suffering. The common thread is change. And that guy standing looking at the mountain, or you in your situation. And that change is finally explaining to yourself that sometimes pain finally pushes us to make a decision that we've been avoiding. And not because pain is good, but because pain forces honesty, and honesty is often the first step toward healing, because everyone has their own mountain. The beauty wasn't reaching the top. The beauty was finally taking that first step. And I want you to just stop and sit back and think about whatever situation you're in, because you're here today for a reason. And if you know deep in your heart you hate your situation, maybe it's your job that you know you have to leave. Maybe it's drugs. Maybe you have an addiction or an alcohol problem or a gambling problem. Maybe you're in a bad relationship and you look over, and when you look at the person, you just see everything negative, and you know it's not who you want to be with, and you know you have to eventually figure this out and make changes. Listen, everybody's mountain is different, okay? So, as I said, the beauty is finally taking the first step. And if you're listening to this right now and you're feeling broken, I want you to hear me clearly. Your cracks do not make you worthless. Your scars do not make you ruined. Sometimes the very places life broke you become the exact places where God builds the strongest version of you. Think about that. This all can turn into a shelter for the shattered. It could be you. It could become grounded, authoritative, yet deeply comforting. So just let's slow this down. Take a deep breath. And I want to just say, when you get to the point in the day or the night when the weight of the world feels like too much to carry, what I'm going to tell you to do, what I always do, I turn back to the truth. I have to go to the scriptures. And I'm not an expert, and I am definitely not perfect. The Lord knows that, and people who know me know that. But I know what the word says about the pain that we're talking about today. And I love this part of my research because it takes me to the scriptures, to God, and it motivates me to let the Spirit lead me. Let's look at some scripture here. Let's go to James chapter 4, verse 6. This is what it says. God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. Think about that. The world rewards the arrogant, the phonies, the people on their high horses, but God opposes them. He waits for the mask to break. He waits for us to be stripped of all that fake stuff so he can show us real favor. And if you're sitting in the dock right now, maybe dealing with a terrible medical diagnosis, maybe a shattered relationship, maybe a relationship that's killing you and you just need to get out of, or maybe loneliness that feels like it's swallowing you alive, go and listen to Psalm 34, verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Remember those episodes? Hear those words right now. Close to the brokenhearted. God doesn't run away from your mess like those phony, fair-weather friends do, and these terrible people around you. He doesn't leave you when the storm hits. He gets closer. Sometimes he allows the high horse to fall. He allows all this nonsense to be stripped away from us, because that is the only way we will ever stop relying on the fake world and start relying on him. This is why he does it, like the father teaching a son or daughter. The breakdown isn't the end of your story. It's the exact place where the healing is designed to begin. And you know what else that came to mind is realizing that the Bible is filled with broken people. Not perfect people, broken people. David broke down, Job broke down, Peter broke down, the prodigal son broke down, even Jesus wept. The shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. And maybe that's important for all of us to remember, because sometimes we think faith means always being strong, always smiling, always having the answers, and always pretending everything is okay. But that's not real faith. Real faith, it's sitting crying in your car and still praying anyway. Real faith is losing something that you thought you couldn't live without and still believing God has not abandoned you. Real faith is waking up heartbroken and still choosing to keep moving forward one more day. We're moving forward. And there's a verse that kept coming back into my mind as I was thinking about this episode. That Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Not perfect people. Not these people pretending to have it all together. The brokenhearted. Go look up the definition of what brokenhearted is. Honestly, I think some of the most beautiful people in this world are the ones who have suffered deeply but still choose to remain kind. Those are genuine people, genuine souls, genuine hearts. That's strength. It's not becoming cold, not becoming bitter, not becoming cruel because life hurt you. It's staying soft in a hard world. That takes real courage. And maybe that's what God is trying to teach some of us during our breakdown seasons. Maybe he strips away the ego, the pride, the masks, the distractions, the false security, the phony people in our lives, so we finally understand what actually matters. Love matters, compassion matters, forgiveness matters, time matters, human connection matters, but most importantly, love matters. And maybe the people who are truly cracked open by life, they are the people that are most capable of letting light into others afterward. So if you're listening to this right now and life has humbled you, don't be ashamed of your breakdown. There's things you can do. And as I said, sometimes the breakdown is where the rebuilding begins. You just have to stick to your faith and pray. If there's something in your life that needs removing, pray. Say, please, God, take this out of my life. And if there's something that you want in your life, ask him to put it in your life. And you know what? You pray, and he knows what's right for you. Sometimes the answer is no, sometimes it's yes, but you still pray for it and you believe in your heart. If you want something, you just ask him for it. The thorn, remember the thorn in the flesh? Please remove it. And sometimes he leaves that thorn in our flesh, but at the right time, he removes it. Say you got something, you're in a bad situation in your life, and you've asked him 50,000 times, please take this away from me. Maybe that next time is when he actually does it. It's all about God's timing, not us. And that being said, you know how we do this on this show. No matter where we wander, music always finds a way back into the podcast. Because music, it's that universal language of the broken heart. When we can't find the words to pray, or when the depression is locking our jaws shut, a song can step in and say exactly what we need to hear sometimes. It's crazy, but it happens. So today, I've been thinking a lot about songs that deal with stripping away the fake stuff, standing tall through a storm, or the symbolism of a rose. And maybe that's one of the reasons music has always meant so much to me. Because when life gets hard, when we're waiting, when we're hurting, when we're praying for answers that haven't come yet, music always has a way of putting words to feelings that we don't always explain ourselves. Sometimes a song says exactly what we're trying to say to God. And sometimes a song reminds us we're not alone. Sometimes a song carries us through a season when we don't have the strength to carry ourselves. And that's why no matter what the topic is, music always finds its way back into this podcast. And thinking about today's topic reminded me of something I wrote years ago during a Bible study challenge with a group of friends I was with. We were asked to create our own parables. And I wrote one about a rose. And it was a little shorter than this. The one I wrote was about how all of us have the choice to become different parts of the rose. Some days we are petals, soft, kind, gentle, bringing beauty and comfort to the people around us. But other days, especially when we've been hurt, disappointed, betrayed, or afraid, we become the thorns, sharp, defensive, and guarded, ready to push away anyone who gets close. And I believe the parable I wrote was something like, what part of the rose are we like? Are we like the petals, which are soft and pleasant to the eye and pleasant to the touch? Or are we like the thorns, ready to cut and hurt? Something like that. But you kind of get what I'm trying to say here. So the truth is, every one of us carries both, the petals and the thorns, the beauty and the pain, the kindness and the wounds. And maybe that's what this whole entire episode is really about. The beauty and the breakdown, because a rose doesn't stop being a rose because it has thorns, and people don't stop becoming valuable because they've been hurt. Maybe the goal isn't to pretend that the thorns are not there. Maybe the goal is to keep growing anyway, to keep blooming anyway, and to keep loving anyway. And that brings me to one of the most powerful songs ever written about hope, healing, and new beginnings. It's Bette Midler's The Rose. My old friend of mine, Eddie, loved this song, and he's the one that told me to really listen to it years ago, and I did, and it's very powerful. The song reminds us that beneath the cold winter, beneath the frozen ground, beneath the darkness we think will never end, a seed is still alive, waiting, growing, preparing for spring. And maybe that's where some of you are right now, today. And as you listen to these, think about the lyrics to those tracks. They remind us that even when the winter is brutal and everything around us dies, the roots are still alive underground. The beautiful thing about music, it doesn't care about the fame or fortune. It doesn't care about the high horse or the bank account. It hits the soul directly. If you're driving home today or tonight, or you're sitting in your room feeling empty, or sitting on your couch, or whatever you're doing, I want you to turn on a song that feeds your spirit. Let the melody do the heavy lifting for an hour. Let it remind you that you're still here, you're still breathing, and your song isn't over yet. You have a song. Yes, we all have our own song about our lives. You have one. It's not over. It's just getting good. You haven't even hit the chorus yet. Okay? Think about that. Because sometimes a song understands you before people do. And sometimes you hear one lyric at the exact right moment in your life, and it feels like somebody reached inside your chest and pulled all your emotions out on paper. As I was putting this episode together this week, a few songs kept coming into my mind over and over. And one is Scars in Heaven by Casting Crowns. Song is so powerful because it reminds us that pain leaves marks on all of us. But those scars are not meaningless. Sometimes the deepest wounds in life become the places where faith grows the strongest. And the next song, Broken Halos by Chris Stapleton. And I've used these songs in other episodes. They just intertwine with a lot of the things I talk about. And honestly, that title alone, it fits the episode perfectly, Broken Halos. Because I think a lot of us walk around believing broken means worthless. But maybe broken people are just human beings who survive things nobody else saw. And finally, this one really hit me emotionally this week as well. Beautiful Things by Benson Boone. Because when life starts falling apart, you suddenly realize how fragile everything really is. The people we love, our health, time, relationships, broken relationships, peace of mind. And sometimes it takes almost losing something to finally understand how valuable it truly was all along. You know that saying, you don't know what you have till it's gone. And I'll place a link below in the description to a playlist of these songs I'm talking about here, so you can just go listen to them at another time or after this episode. And don't just hear the music, really listen to the lyrics, because sometimes healing quietly hides itself inside of a song. And the way music connects our lives is downright supernatural sometimes, isn't it? Just recently, I had this girl at one of my gigs request a song by a band that I really never heard of. She asked me for a track called What a Crying Shame by the Mavericks. And I didn't know who they were. So on my break, I literally went into the bathroom. I listened to it on my phone. And I came back out and I started my next set and I played it for her. And she said it came out excellent. And now I've been playing it at all my gigs because everybody knew the band and loved the song. So fast forward to this morning. I stopped at my friend's motorcycle shop because they have a Harley and it's been being worked on. So I stopped in there just to say hi and check on the bike. And there was a guy I knew, Dave, there, who hangs around the shop. And we started talking about music. And out of nowhere, he says, "Hey, have you ever heard of this band called the Mavericks?" I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "They actually have an accordion player." Took me back and I looked at him and I said, "I literally just started covering a song by them." So he ends up pulling up this video on YouTube to show me the Mavericks playing live. And I sat there listening to the lead singer. His name is Raul Melo. And man, I'm telling you something. The voice on this guy is just absolutely stunning. Golden pure magic. And I really never knew who he was, but he's got a great voice. But he looked different in the video. And I said, "Is that the lead singer?" Because the video I had seen, it was this young-looking guy, and I showed the video. David, and it's funny because this guy, Dave, didn't know the song that the girl asked me to play. And he said, "I never heard that song, but I know the Mavericks." So I played it for him. He goes, "Wow, he was really young then." I was like, "That's the same guy?" He said, yeah, he was really young in that video. So he showed him to me now. He looked so different in the newer video. So as we continued talking more, he says, yeah, he goes, he passed away. I'm like, who? He said, the singer. He just died in 2025. He said, the band's done. He died. I said, really? He said, the band's done. I was like, wow, what did he die from? And he goes, cancer. And I'm like, man, sent that chill down my spine. Here I am, wrestling with my whole thing, running into cancer everywhere. And everywhere I looked this week, and I just went to a funeral of a friend that passed away of cancer, and I'm doing a benefit coming up soon for another guy I know has cancer. And then I'm speaking to that girl. It just keeps coming up. And I'm trying to make sense of all this pain and anguish these people with this cancer and their families have to go through. And after all that, I'm listening to this guy with this great voice, and then realizing his life was cut short by the exact same thing. It just reminded me that it doesn't matter if you have a beautiful voice, money, talent. It doesn't matter. We all have a finite amount of time on this earth, don't we? But music, it does connect us across life and death. And Raul Malu's body might be gone, but that voice is still echoing, man. It's still healing people. I'm like me in that motorcycle shop this morning. I just heard his voice. I was like, wow, this guy can sing. So if you're driving home tonight or today, take a listen to What a Crying Shame. I am going to put it in the playlist as well, but let that man's stunning voice remind you to appreciate the breath in your lungs right now. And I'll probably put a couple of songs by him since I'm speaking about him in the playlist. And one will be What a Crying Shame. And I'm also going to put a link to a short video clip. It's detailing Raul's courageous journey and showing how heavily music and strength defined his final days. I'll put that link in the description and go take a look at it. And before we close this episode out today, I want to leave you with this final thought. Maybe the people who are the most beautiful people spiritually are not the people who had the easiest lives. Maybe they're the people who went through hell and somehow still chose love. They still chose kindness, compassion. They still chose faith, still chose to keep their hearts open after life gave them every reason to close them. Because let's be honest, it's very easy to become cold, isn't it? It's so easy to become bitter. It's so easy to stop trusting people. It's easy to judge the world after it hurts you enough. But staying soft after suffering, that takes strength. Real strength. And if life has been breaking you down lately, I need you to hear this. You're not behind, you're not ruined, you're not disqualified from love, you're not weak because you're struggling. None of that. Sometimes breakdown seasons are actually rebuilding seasons in disguise. Sometimes God has to slow us down long enough for us to finally see what truly matters. And maybe that's the lesson hidden inside all of us. Not every scar is ugly. Some scars become reminders that you survived. Some heartbreaks create wisdom. Some losses create gratitude. Some painful endings create completely different versions of ourselves we never would have discovered otherwise. And sometimes painful things make us do things for others that we may not have done before. So, after listening to this right now, if you're feeling exhausted emotionally, don't give up on yourself. Please don't. As I said, your story may feel cracked right now, but cracked things still let the light through, and they can be healed with that gold. And sometimes the most powerful people in this world are the ones who were broken open but decided to love anyway. And as we wind this down, I want you to take a real look at your own life. Who is standing next to you when the lights go out? Are you surrounding yourself with people who love themselves? Who love maybe money or looks or phony status? Or just selfish and they're only standing beside you because they need something? Or do you have people who will sit with you in that hospital room when a stage 3 diagnosis hits? If you're sitting in your car or your living room right now, or laying in your bed or going for a walk, whatever, and you're feeling empty, completely empty, maybe you're brokenhearted, I don't know, or you feel left behind by someone you thought was your forever, could be that. I want you to know your life's not over. You're not too old. You can rebuild. You aren't a mistake. And maybe God is just stripping away the fake things and the fair weather people to prepare you for a massive breakthrough. Okay? So I'd like to go into a prayer right now. I was going to switch these up a little bit and start leaving the prayers out of some of these, but the majority seem to love them. From my experiences with the messages and the conversations, people say I love the prayers. And I believe we can never get enough prayer. And that being said, when I go for my walks and my jogs, pretty much usually 5 days out of the week, I listen to all kind of stuff when I do my research. I have my AirPods in. Sometimes I listen to music, sometimes sermons, sometimes podcasts, sometimes my own podcasts to make sure that they're decent and I didn't make any crazy mistakes in them, even though I don't really edit these much. But sometimes I shut the music off, I shut everything off, and I keep my AirPods in my ears so it's quiet, and I catch myself praying sometimes the entire walk, not putting anything on. And I usually walk or jog about 50 minutes to an hour. And sometimes it's just all prayer. And it's funny that we always find the time in our day to fit all kind of things in. But some of us, we always seem to forget about making time for prayer or finding time for God. And that being said, this is why I love my walks. My walks are my prayer time. It's so peaceful. If you want, you can bow your heads with me if you'd like. So, Heavenly Father, tonight we come to you with hearts that are tired. Some of us are carrying heartbreak. Some of us carrying fear. Some of us carrying regret, loneliness, sickness, depression, anxiety, confusion, situations we're trying to get out of, silent battles nobody around us even knows about. But Lord, you see every hidden tear, every sleepless night, every bit of anxiety that settles in our hearts and our minds, every private struggle. And every person that's listening to this right now who feels cracked open by life, please heal them. Please be with them. And Father, tonight we ask for strength, for your strength. Not fake strength. Not the kind that pretends everything's okay. Real strength. The strength to keep going when life hurts. The strength to remain kind after betrayal. The strength to remain hopeful after disappointment. The strength to keep loving in a world that sometimes feels so cold and broken. And Lord, when we feel helpless, help us to stop judging ourselves by our scars. Remind us that broken things can still carry purpose, that painful seasons do not mean abandoned seasons. And sometimes the very places life wounded us become the places where compassion, wisdom, and faith grow the deepest. We pray tonight for every person battling illness, every person facing heartbreak, every person silently struggling with depression or a situation they're trying to omit, every person carrying shame for mistakes that they can't undo. Wrap your arms around them tonight, Father. Bring peace where there is chaos. Bring light where there is darkness. Bring hope where people feel hopeless. And Lord, if there's somebody listening right now who feels like giving up on life entirely, please remind them that their story is not over yet. Sometimes the breakdown is not destruction. Sometimes it's transformation. Help us become softer instead of bitter, wiser instead of colder, and more compassionate instead of more judgmental. And help us to remember that the people we meet every day are carrying invisible battles just as we are. And teach us to love people better, to forgive better, to appreciate life more deeply, and to never take time, health, or human connection for granted. We place all of our broken pieces into your hands tonight, Lord, and we trust that you are still creating something beautiful out of them. We pray for every single person listening to this podcast who may be hurting, and I pray for the ones who are battling cancer, people that are losing their hair, the ones facing terrifying medical reports today. Wrap your arms around them and remind them that they're not alone. And I want to pray for all the broken hearts, for people who feel lonely, miserable, and empty inside, trying so hard to be good to everyone else. Give them peace. Please give them a break. Humble us where we need to be humbled. Strip away the phoniness in our lives, and strip away all evil in our lives. If it's people, please get rid of them. You can do it. We know you can. And show us your favor in the middle of our breakdown. And we ask this in your Son's precious, holy name, Jesus Christ. Amen. So as we close out today's episode, I want to leave you with a visual that ties all of this together. We've been talking about how God sometimes has to humble us to wake us up. We talked about how those dark moments, like a health crisis, a sudden loss, or hitting rock bottom, are the exact moments that we finally smarten up and start appreciating life differently. But what is actually happening during the dark, quiet time when you feel buried? I want to tell you about the Chinese bamboo tree. When a farmer plants a Chinese bamboo seed, he waters it, he fertilizes the soil, and he watches it closely. And 1 year goes by, nothing happens. No green sprout, no stem, nothing. He keeps watering it. Then year 2 comes and it goes, and still, completely bare dirt. Imagine the neighbors looking at him thinking this guy's crazy. Year 3, nothing. Year 4, absolutely zero visible growth. 4 years of watering dirt. And think about how humbling that is. Think about the doubt that creeps in. You are doing everything right. You are pouring your heart, tears, and prayers into your life, into your marriage, your career, your healing, and everything else. And it feels like God is just leaving you in the dark. You feel buried. But then, the 5th year arrives. And in a matter of just 6 weeks, this is it, that Chinese bamboo tree shoots up 90 feet into the air. 90 feet in 6 weeks. It sounds like a miracle, right? But let me ask you the breakthrough question. Did that tree grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did it grow 90 feet in 5 years? It grew in 5 years. If the farmer had stopped watering that dirt in year 2 or year 3 because he couldn't see results, that bamboo tree would have died beneath the soil. What was it doing for those 4 years? It was growing deep roots. It was building a massive, complex, invisible foundation underground. And why? Because a 90-foot tree cannot survive without a root system deep enough to sustain its massive expansion. And that is exactly what God is doing to you when you feel humbled, broken, or stagnant. Sometimes you aren't being buried, you're being planted. When you're going through a trial, like the cancer diagnosis that we talked about, or a season where everything is stripped away from you, or you've lost something that means everything to you, God is forcing you to stop looking at the surface. And He's forcing you to build deep roots. He's building your character, your resilience, and your faith in the dark where nobody else can see it. If you got the explosive growth right away, if you got the blessing without the breakdown, you wouldn't have the root system to hold it up. You would collapse under your own weight. So if you're in a season right now where you feel like you're just watering bare dirt, don't give up on the soil. Keep showing up. Keep doing the unseen work. Trust that the delay isn't a denial. God is just anchoring you so when it is finally your time to break through, nothing can tear it down and nothing will tear it down. Not the distractions, not the mistakes, not the illness, not the rebound, not the peanut gallery, not what everybody says to you. Nothing. So thank you for listening to this episode 4 of season 3, The Beauty in the Breakdown. Keep building your roots. And before we close, I want to go back to something that we talked about earlier in this episode, the Japanese art of Kintsugi. When that piece of pottery breaks and they don't throw it away, they carefully gather the broken pieces and put it back together with gold. And when they're done, the cracks are still there, but instead of hiding them, they become part of the beauty. And the piece is actually more valuable because it's broken and restored. And as I was thinking about that, I realized something. Maybe that's what God does with us. Maybe our job isn't to have all the answers. Maybe our job isn't to fix ourselves. Maybe our job is to simply pick up the broken pieces and bring them to the potter. Bring him the heartbreak, bring him the disappointment, bring him the mistakes, the grief, the loneliness, the things we're ashamed of, the things we know are wrong we have to get out of. Bring him the pieces that we don't know what to do with, And then trust Him with the restoration, because the same God who created us knows how to rebuild us. And the same God who formed us knows how to restore us. And maybe His grace is that gold. Maybe His mercy is that gold. And maybe His love is that gold that fills the cracks. Not so the cracks disappear, but so they become part of the testimony, part of the story, part of the beauty. Because broken doesn't mean finished. Sometimes broken is where the rebuilding begins. And maybe that's the true beauty in the breakdown. And as I said, I've done research and I've heard hundreds and hundreds of testimony of people, I'm talking in a relationship, that have restored them. And after their breakdowns, most of the testimonies I've heard is the beauty is just way more unimaginable than they could have ever realized. And I was talking to somebody recently about my life, where I am today and where I'm thinking of going. And the truth is, I don't have all the answers. Some days I feel very hopeful and some days I feel very lost. It's all of us, right? But I'm meeting new people. I've been meeting some great people. And some days I look at my life and see all the things that went wrong. And other days I look at my life and realize how many blessings I still have. And also the opportunity of new blessings and new people in my life. But one thing I've learned through all this is that I can't live looking in the rearview mirror forever. And I can't keep staring at the past. The breakdown lessons. At some point, you have to start looking for the beauty. And you have to start looking for the new lesson. And you have to start looking for the next chapter. Because it's out there. And you know what? I will be doing an episode that's going to tie right into this. I don't know if it's the next one, but it's going to tie into this piece that we're talking about right here, because the breakdown is behind us and the beauty is what we're moving toward. And I'm hoping that this is true for you as well. And if it is, I pray it's something you never imagined. And before I sign off, I want to leave you with one more final thought. We spent a lot of time today talking about breakdowns, right? About disappointments and heartbreaks and loss and being crushed in spirit and pain and moments in life that bring us to our knees, right? But remember, the breakdown is not the destination. The breakdown is just the chapter. And the beauty is what comes next. The beauty is in the growth. The beauty is in the healing. And the beauty is in the wisdom that we gain from the struggle. And the beauty, it's the new chapter that we can't quite see yet. So wherever you are today, wherever you are, keep moving forward. One step, one prayer, and one day at a time. And don't spend so much time staring at what broke that you miss what God is building. Could be right in front of you. I was doing that. I'm not doing that no more, because your future is not behind you. Your future is still right ahead of you. And maybe the greatest part of your story hasn't even happened yet. And always try not being too high or not being too low. It's moving forward, looking through the windshield and not the rearview mirror. So make the move forward, take your reward, take advantage of your lesson that is a learning blessing, and don't continue to live in misery. And you know what? It's your choice, your decision. And if you're continuing living in misery, it's your own fault. So do it for yourself. Do it today. Do it now. And do it immediately. I was just watching a YouTube video. It was how God, throughout history, has handed blessings very quickly, not slowly. The slow part of it is us. We have to grow and learn. When God finally makes that move, if it's a divine move by Him, it usually comes suddenly. And that's when you get that feeling when you're just looking right through someone and you're not even paying attention, or you're at work, or you're whatever you're doing, you're just looking right through the situation and something moves you to say, you know what, I need to do this right now. And you do it. And that is God's Spirit moving you. That's what that is. So remember, do it for yourself. Do it today, now, and immediately follow the direction. In this past year, it's been one of the hardest years of my life. There were moments I didn't understand, moments I wanted answers, and moments I wish things had gone differently. But as I said earlier, can't live in that rearview mirror forever. And you can't spend the rest of your life staring at what broke. At some point, you have to start looking at what God might be building. And maybe this is you. Maybe you're in that season. And maybe that's the lesson in all of this. The breakdown is not the end of the story. I've said it throughout this episode. It must be important because I keep saying it. The breakdown is just a chapter. The beauty is what comes next. The beauty is in the healing, and the beauty is in the growth. And the beauty is in the new chapter that we can't see yet. So if you're listening today and something brought you here, and you've had a devastating year, or a devastating week, or a devastating month, or devastating years, don't give up. Keep moving forward. Keep praying. Keep believing, because your future's not behind you. Your future is still ahead of you. It's ahead of you. And leave all the garbage behind, and let that nonsense and let that confusion and whatever else that you may have thought was your blessing, maybe it really was a lesson. So maybe the greatest part of your story, as I said earlier, it hasn't even happened yet. I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. So just live, and live honestly, and listen to your heart, and move forward. Okay? Move forward. That's what we're doing here. So I want to thank you guys for spending this time with me today. This episode was deeply personal for me as well, I'm sure for some of you. And honestly, I think one of the biggest lessons I'm learning in this season of life is that everybody is carrying something. The waitress smiling at you, the musician on stage entertaining the crowd, the person posting perfect pictures online, the person sitting alone in their car, the person battling sickness quietly, the person pretending they're okay after a heartbreak or a loss. Everybody is fighting a battle somewhere inside themselves. So maybe before we judge people, before we become bitter, before we assume somebody has it all figured out, maybe we should try leading with compassion instead, because life has a way of humbling every single one of us eventually. And maybe the beauty in breakdown is this. Sometimes pain strips away the fake version of who we thought we needed to be, and finally introduces us to who we really are underneath. More human, more grateful, more compassionate, more aware of what truly matters. And if you're listening to this right now, going through your own breakdown season, please don't lose hope. As I said, your story's being written. Your song is being written. We all have a song. And thank you for riding with me through another episode of Cracked Open. Thank you for every message, every share, every conversation, every prayer, and every person who continues walking through this journey with me in real time. And remember, sometimes the cracks are where the light gets in. And as we close this episode and our time together this week, I was talking to somebody recently about my life and where I'm currently am and where I'm trying to go. And I hear you completely. And we covered a lot of ground today. We talked about the illusion of the high horse, the phoniness of the world, and how life-altering storms can strip away the fake in our lives to reveal something deeply humble and beautiful underneath. We talked about the fragile nature of life, how music connects us through the darkest valleys, and how a stunning voice like Raul's can still speak to a broken heart. And I want to leave you with a piece of hope before I sign off. Some of these episodes might sound a little heavy. Some of the topics might be heavy, but the goal on this show is to always give you light in the dark. So years ago, before I even started this podcast, I want to just bring up that conversation I told you about that I had years ago with that prison guard. And think about that if you don't know what I'm talking about. It was the prison guard who was ready to take his own life, and he didn't. Thank God he didn't. And I only say that to remind you that you never know who's listening. You never know whose life you may touch just by being real and being there, being present. My own life might be a mess right now. Yours might be a mess right now. Hopefully it isn't. Hopefully you're just listening to this and you think it's interesting. But if you're here, most likely you're listening for a reason. I've had a devastating year. I'm not lying. I walked through all kind of immense grief. And I'm emotionally exhausted. I really am. But I'm standing here just like you are. Your story isn't over, and either is mine. So I want you to pause. If this episode touched you today, do me a favor. Subscribe to it, like it, and share it with somebody who might be sitting in the dark right now that needs to hear it. Okay? And to everyone who has supported my show, liked it and shared it. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. And remember, your integrity is your legacy. Treat your neighbor as yourself. Karma has no favorites. And I hope you're on the good side of the karma, because it has two sides. And God has no favorites. So you've been listening to Cracked Open with Glen Nunes. Stay kind, stay grateful, keep your heart open, and I'll catch you on the next episode. So take care of yourself, humble yourself. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week on Cracked Open.
Thank you for listening to Cracked Open. If today's episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who might need a little light in their own dark season. Remember, even in brokenness, there's beauty waiting to be found. Every crack is a place where the light can shine through. Until next time, stay true, stay hopeful, and keep your heart open.